Hello YouTube vintage camera lovers, restorers, picture takers. This morning I was looking outside and I'm thinking, what's different today? It's like, oh, the sun's out. We've had quite a bit of Great Lake effect snow here and it's been kind of a few messy days. This morning was absolutely brilliant outside. And I started to see the snow melting on the tree limbs. I started to see light and shadow. I was thinking, wow, you could take some really awesome black and white today. I had a doctor's appointment at 11 and I just thought, why don't I leave a little bit early, load a camera up with some Ilford Delta 100, 24 exposure, and drop by one of the parks and just take some pictures. And I was like, yeah, okay, which camera do I use? That's the problem when you collect cameras. And I thought, well, there's this one I got from the thrift store, the Canon Rebel. And I was kind of like, funny thing, I went to a flea market, antique market on the weekend, and I saw two more of these, one for 40, one for 25. I thought, what a bargain these are. First of all, it has a really decent, it has a real Canon lens, a made in Japan lens. It's a 35 to 80 millimeter zoom telephoto, autofocus, auto aperture. It actually it's a light camera, not too light, not too heavy. Nice smooth body on it, like there's no rough edges. It has some grippy areas where you might, slip with your hand, like in here, so you can hang on to it. Really simple screen and menus. So right now it's telling me there's a film in here and all the shots have been taken. So what happens when you first put the film in, so let's take the film out that I shot. You just click this and just pull the film out. When you first put it in on this orange spool, you pull it up to this orange mark. You close the lid and the camera goes and it actually pulls all the film out, winds it up over here, and as you take them they go back into the canister. A little different than the older cameras. So what's kind of neat about this, green is full auto. I'm not a big fan of the autofocus on this lens. It's a little sluggish, but it works. I was using manual focus most of the time. You set the ISO. Default's 100. This is 100 anyway, so nothing to worry about there. And there is a manual mode where you can actually shift things around using this wheel. I shot full auto. I'll tell you why I shot full auto today. Because it was really cold on the hands today. It's just one of those days. I can't use a camera with gloves. So I shot full auto except for manual focus. And didn't run any filters or anything. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to develop this film and I'll show you some of the stages of that. I've done a little bit of this before. I'll show you how I quickly and with little mess developed this film in my kitchen. And we'll talk about the camera a little bit as we do that. And just as I was taking those pictures of what I was thinking, I can show you some of the pictures. So anyway, this is a bargain for a regular body 35mm SLR with a detachable lens. It's an excellent lens. It's just light, feels awfully light. The only thing I can say about the viewfinder, the window's the right size, but inside the actual viewable area seems smaller than the AE one. That's what I was thinking of when I was taking pictures, and when I just came in the room a few minutes ago I checked that. The AE one has a brighter, clearer, better viewfinder as far as I'm concerned. But these are made at a lower price point and maybe for a different demographic. So anyway, let's start the processing. So this is some of the stuff I use to develop black and white negatives like the Ilford Delta 100, which I'm about to develop. Now, I've done a couple other videos on developing before that are in more detail, so I'm just going to give you a rundown on one of my latest chemicals. So I went downstairs into the cold cellar that's under the front door, and I loaded my film into my Patterson canister in the dark of course, onto the lower reel, which takes 300 milliliters of water to submerge, or what is it in 1.5 cups. Okay, so there's a couple things I get ready. One is to fill up a jug with tap water. I'm talking about just tap water out of the cold, softened side of the kitchen faucet, just so it comes to room temperature. I start the fixer I use ahead of time. I've switched fixers more recently. I use this is a great invention, Tetanol Superfix tablets. Instead of having to buy liquid fixer or powder fixer and keeping it around, having it expire or disappoint you, this Tetanol stuff has incredibly long shelf life and is packaged in dissolvable pellets. So that's what I did before I went downstairs to get the film in the canister, because it takes about half an hour for these to basically dissolve. You put the 300 milliliters, 1.5 cups of water, into the microwave for about a minute, get it up to about 95 degrees or 30 Celsius. Drop these in and let them dissolve. So that's your fixer. So one tablet does 150 milliliters of fixer. It's a different formulation than the old stuff. It's not as nasty. It doesn't smell the same. It doesn't stain the table. It doesn't dry your hands out. It's really good stuff, and it seems to work good in the film. Working backwards, stop bath. Nana-Pia's apple cider vinegar is good. Or you can use a vitamin C tablet. Or you can use just regular home vinegar. About 2 tablespoons. Like basically just a shot. I can actually just mix it up here. So you take this, don't shake it. Okay, and just put a little bit on the bottom there. See how scientific I am, right? Truth is, you could use water if you wanted to. And then I just fill up this old cottage cheese container so it's ready to go when I need it. Now, we're going to set up the developer. The reason I have this here is I used to do a lot of printouts and stuff for development times. You know, if I did a roll of film, I used to have a binder with my results, and I'd make notes on it. I've kind of moved away from that, and I've been doing this since 1976. That's how long I've been doing this. I now use this to look up development times. Usually Digital Truth Photo is a good one. But for Ilford Delta 100, well, it's 9 minutes with Blazinol, black and white film developer, which is Rodinol, just made by a different manufacturer. So for this type of film, it's excellent. You can use Ilford developer if you want. The one reason I use this, and it's a common theme for me, this lasts forever. This bottle is 3 years old. It will last, and you can use it up until it's all gone, even if it takes 10 years. I kid you not. This stuff is incredible. Other developers, you have to mix them up and use them within a few months. And sometimes I'm doing a lot of pictures, other times not so many. So that's kind of the way I do it. So let's do this. Let's just get a start on this. Here's my mini mixer. I use milliliters because the Ilford is, everything's in milliliters for Ilford. Canada is a bilingual country. We have both metric and imperial. So this looks a little gross, so I'm just going to try and pour it. It's to mix at, basically for 300 milliliters at 25 to 1, it's 11 milliliters in here. Where's that over here? There it is. Yeah, right about there. It doesn't take much, that's for sure. And there's quite a bit of latitude, if that's the right word, as far as temperature, and you can get the, whether it's 1 to 25 or 1 to 22, it doesn't matter that much. I just need another mixing container. The one you need to be the most careful with is the developer. It should be very close. What we're going to do is we're going to mix basically 11 milliliters, bring it up to the 150 mark, double check the temperature, yeah, about 70 or 21, pour it in here. I could pour it into there, then do a second one to bring it up to 300. Let's keep it mixed consistently. So, into there, get that out of the way. So, I just gently stir this together. It's going to have a bit of a peach flavor to it, but what we need now is the timer. So just clear the timer, and this is going to be going 9 minutes. So I'm not going to subject you to the 9 minutes. I'm just going to show you 1 minute. So we're going to pour this in here and get the timer going. And for the first 15 seconds, I just rock it back and forth. There's a little thing here that moves the reel. There you go. So I agitate it based on instructions and experience for 10 seconds every 30 seconds. So there at the 30-second mark, we go back and forth, swish it around, washes the crystals off, and we leave it go. So I'll get back to you at a later stage. So I did 9 minutes of agitating and with the developer, poured it on the sink. This stuff can go down the drain. It's biodegradable. Then use the diluted apple cider vinegar to rinse it so that stops the development. Now we can pour the fixer in and do this for 4 minutes. Like so. So I do about a 15-second agitation. So I'm going to do this for 4 minutes. And then what I'll do is I will rinse it out and hang them up. This is one of my favorite moments. Hanging up the negatives to dry. And looking and say, oh, did any of them turn out? Oh, a few. I'd say every shot turned out. Anyway, I'm going to scan those in and we'll talk about them. Well, yesterday, when I took the pictures you're about to see, it wasn't snowing, the sun was out, we had a little break from this messy weather. First couple of pictures that you see, just taken on the back deck with just for depth of field and close focus. I manually focused them. I couldn't get the autofocus, especially on the closer object, to look the way I wanted it to. This next bunch of pictures was taken There's sort of a, I don't know what you call it, like a stormwater retention pond beside one of the buildings at a local university. And typical of anything these days, I parked at the edge of an almost empty parking lot and just walked a little trail and took these pictures. Next thing, security guard comes out of the building and is watching me the whole time with my vintage Canon Rebel here, right? Like, yeah, okay. Seems to be the thing. But anyway, I just shot these, like say in auto mode. Just left the focus on infinity the whole time. This outer ring here is the focus ring. And it was so bright, most of the shots were at 1/500th of a second f11, which is what the camera was selecting. Anyway, take a look at these, tell me what you think. This next bunch of pictures was taken at a building, an office building that's been empty for 3 or 4 years. A lot of empty office buildings around here. And I kind of like the architecture. This was originally a department store, and then they added all this tubular stuff and glass stuff about 10 years ago. And then, of course, they moved out halfway through their lease as an insurance company where most of the employees work from home now. But I was taking pictures of this architecture. Next thing, there's a security guard on the other side of the glass looking out at me. I'm like, I'm outside on a public walkway here, you know. Anyway, I kind of like the look of these, the sunshine. This camera just is so easy to use that a stuffed bear wearing a beanie, beret, could use it. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening. We'll cover maybe the Canon AE1 next. Thanks.